will wind up radically changing the world once again. Those two ideas are monoenergism, pronounced with a hard G, because if you say it with a soft G, it sounds a bit weird. So monoenergism and monothelitism, right? Monoenergism. Well, you already know what each of these two words means. You got the first half already, mono. So we're talking about one something, right? In the first case, monoenergism. Energism. Sounds maybe like what in English? Looks like what in English? Energy? Yeah, from the Greek word energeia, meaning energy, force. Or if you think back to the 3rd century, our discussion of Tertullian and Cyprian, or even the Stoics before them, tension, right? Tension, energy, force. The Greek word energeia. This word and concept will eventually, shortly after this, be translated into the ancient Syriac, or what will become Arabic term, jihad. Ooh, that's interesting. Energeia, Greek, energy, force, tension, Arabic, jihad. We'll come back to that shortly. Okay. The other, and connected with it, monothelitism. Another Greek word, so one something, one what? Thele, Greek word for will. Poorly translated in English, but that's what we say, will, like will. Huh? One will, one force, one will. These ideas were already present at this 5th Ecumenical Council, the Second Council of Constantinople, 553. And they're going to come up again in the subsequent Ecumenical Council, the 6th Ecumenical Council, which we're coming to. In any event, it was also decided then at this council that regarding the figure of Jesus Christ, just as a previous Ecumenical Council we already covered, Chalcedon, 451, thanks to Pope Leo the Great, Jesus Christ has two natures, human and divine. Okay, well, if he has two natures, human and divine, then I guess he has two wills, human and divine. And that's what this council decided upon. All right, that leads us, that's the year 553. Now, jump ahead one more century. 3rd Council of Constantinople, Constantinople 3, year 681. So the 6th Ecumenical Council now in the history of the Catholic Church. The first thing they decided to do was to reconfirm the previous 5 ecumenical councils as orthodox. We already learned what that term means, right? Correct teaching. Right? All the previous 5 ecumenical councils, they confirm as maintaining the correct teaching. They're orthodox. The second point this council tried to do was now, for really the first time, make a concerted effort to reunite the former, now fallen, Western Roman Empire with the Eastern Roman Empire. Why did they do this? Why was this important? Because they cared, maybe, perhaps. Don't think idealistically. Always think very cynically and pragmatically. If you've been doing the readings for the course, and for that matter, if you're even slightly familiar with this period of history, or history in general, especially religious history, if you look at these two dates of these two councils, something even more monumental occurred right between the two. 5th Council, 553. That is Second Council of Constantinople. Sixth Council, 681. The Third Council of Constantinople. Look at those dates. Something should jump out at you. 553, 681. Right in the middle. Something monumental happened. That would, once again, forever change the face of the rest of human civilization up until today. Look at those dates. What happened? The one place in the former Roman Empire, and still as of this point, the Eastern Roman Empire, where those two ideas, monoenergism, right? Jesus Christ has one energy. Monothelitism, Jesus Christ has one will. There was really only one spot in the entire Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, where among Christian communities, among Christians, that was a big deal. Their southeasternmost provinces, Syria, Judea, Mesopotamia, which at the time included the northern portion of a really big peninsula between the continents of Africa and Asia, which the Romans in Latin called Arabia, as in Saudi Arabia. And in 622, humanity's third most recent installment of monotheism exploded out of the Arabian Peninsula, known as Islam, which means what? Submission to the one will of Allah. And between 622 and 681, what remained of the Roman Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire, was gone, having been taken over by the conquest of the Islamic Caliphate. And by 681, the Eastern Roman Empire was reduced to the city of Constantinople, portions of the western coast of Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey, and the Greek mainland. But everything else was gone. Egypt, the Levant, so Syria, Judea, Jordan, Mesopotamia, Iraq, northern part of the Arabian Peninsula, and most of eastern modern-day Turkey, right? Gone by 681. So it's not a coincidence. Oh yeah, now maybe we should try to rejoin forces with our Christian brethren in the former Western Roman Empire. Maybe now it's a good idea. Well, we'll find out how that turns out in the next lecture. Between 681 and the year 702, 681 and 702, we're talking a couple of decades, the Islamic Caliphate now extends from the Indus River Valley to the east, all the way to the Pillars of Hercules, the Straits of Gibraltar, the border between, the gap, I should say, between modern-day Morocco and the southern coast of Spain. From the Atlantic to India, the Islamic Caliphate. Now, it's beyond our purposes in this course to engage into other reasons why this happened so quickly, easily. Suffice to say that it did, so much so that by the year 732, so we're talking within 110 years, the Islamic Caliphate spreads from a couple of small hick towns in the Arabian Peninsula all the way to the south of France within 110 years. Okay, we'll leave that there for now. We'll pick it up from that point in the next lecture session, but we have one more thing we want to cover. It's the last ecumenical council we're going to cover in any kind of detail here. And I know you're bored to death by this point, probably. Why in the world are we having to cover all these ecumenical councils? Well, you're about to find out. And this is the last one we're going to cover in any real depth. Right? The seventh ecumenical council held once again where the first one was held. That small suburb of Constantinople, Nicaea, Nicaea. So it's referred to as Nicaea II, or the Second Council of Nicaea, held there in the year 787. Year 787, Seventh Ecumenical Council in the history of the Church. The burning issue was something referred to as iconoclasm. Iconoclasm. Now, if you're looking at you should be, because you're taking notes on it, your worksheet, for the moment, skip those last 4 points and just go down to the next page where you will see a so-called icon. Just look at it for a moment. Look at it. It almost has a photographic quality to it. It's certainly portrait-like. It's a portrait. Okay. Well, to begin with, the name of this, the title it's given is Christos Pantocrator. Christ Pantocrator. Christ, the ruler of all. Pan, remember like Pantheon? All. Okay, so Krator, Krato, I rule. So Christ, ruler of all. This is the oldest properly referred to icon that we have in existence, and it was already created back to that Fifth Ecumenical Council, Justinian, 553. He had it made, or I should say he had it written. In iconography, you never refer to painting or making icons, you refer to writing them, around the year 560, and he gave it to what was a rather prominent monastery, Christian monastery at the time, and of all places, Mount Sinai, Egypt. Think of that. Called the monastery St. Catherine of Alexandria. What is an icon? Well, if you look even in the readings, unfortunately, our texts for this course, certainly on Wikipedia, icon is usually mistranslated into English as image. It's an image or a holy image. Nope. It's not what the word means. When you open your, as you did to follow this lecture session at some point, so when you open your PC, Mac, or so-called smart device, what do you do then? How do you make it work for you to do whatever you want? Right? What do you do? You click on an icon. And then what happens? You click on the icon and what happens? A window opens up. Which is why Bill Gates called his operating system Windows. It's not just an image, rather, an icon is a window into another world. Another world, a window into another world. So first of all, again, way back at the beginning of the course, our first hermeneutic, the philological, what does a word really mean? right? Icon, a window into another world. Well, what is this world? If you look at that icon on your screen, what is this world? Well, it's Jesus Christ. Okay. But I thought Jesus Christ is God. According to Nicene Christianity, most definitely, indeed. Jesus Christ, according to Nicene Christianity, not Arian Christianity, Nicene Christianity, is fully divine. Well, you can't depict the divine. There's an injunction against that in Mosaic law. It's the first of the so-called 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not have graven images, false gods, etc. before me, right? Worship them. So how is this possible? Well, again, thanks to our Arian friends, excuse me, and of course within Islam, it was not possible. Why was it not possible? Why was it not possible to depict God? I'm asking. Because God is metaphysical. God is beyond the physical. God has not become physical. What does Nicene Christianity say? No. The divine incarnation. God has become human. In other words, God, the divine, has a human face. And therefore, we cannot only depict the divine, we cannot only depict God, but moreover, in doing so, something else weird happens. Yeah? If I were to ask you to pull a photograph out of your wallet, or I guess at this point it's all on your smartphone, people don't carry pictures, printed out, positive prints, photographs of their loved ones or family members, significant others, whatever. Okay. So, you pull up on your smartphone a picture of whatever, brother, sister, friend, significant other, parent, whatever. Right? And I say, is that person? And you say, yeah, that's that person. I said, no, but I mean, is that person? Was it? Well, no, it's not the person. The person lives a few thousand miles away from me. It's an image of the person. Is it really just an image? Because when you look at the image of that person, something weird happens to you. You're suddenly filled with all sorts of emotional, sentimental, psychological, maybe even physical reactions just by looking at the image of that person. Something weird happens. Think about famously in the 19th century when photography was invented. Of course, it was all black and white. In the United States of America and its western territories, or its what would become the future territories it was intending to expand across and through, famously, many tribes of Native Americans, if you look at the photos, they look very, I don't like to use this word because we've already learned what Stoicism really means earlier in the course, but they look very stoic, very totem-like, solid, static, not moving. Now, of course, technically speaking, it's because, especially in the early days of photography, any slight movement, you get blurred and you can't see anything. But there's several instances when in which certain peoples did not want their picture, their photograph taken because they thought it was doing something to them. It was somehow taking something out of their whatever, spirit, soul, inner being. Yeah? In other words, something weird happens. And that is exactly how then this Seventh Ecumenical Council, the Second Council of Nicaea 787, decided to justify the use of icons. So saying that the practice of iconoclasm, the destruction of icons, was wrong. Iconoclasm, to be an iconoclast, means you destroy these icons. Right? And the Second Council of Nicaea, 787, said that was heresy, that was false teaching. No, we can and should use these things. And what was the justification? The justification, it's an issue of, in Latin, adoratio versus veneratio, or veneratio, right? Adoratio, like adoration. No, the fact that I look or pray to or pray before or in front of an icon, I'm not worshiping the icon, kind of a photograph of your friend, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your significant other, notwithstanding whatever degree of dysfunctionality there may be in that relationship. I don't say, well, that's actually my mother. However, if someone were to, in your face, rip up a photo of your mother, you'd be kind of angry, maybe. Or whatever. You'd be angry about it, right? But you know that they're not actually killing or hurting or destroying your significant other. At the same time, it affects you. Because it's not adoratio, it's not performing adoration or worship of the object, rather it's veneratio, veneration, showing a deep, deep, deep amount of respect for the person who is being represented, depicted in this icona, in this window. Not just image, window. And the ultimate justification, reason for this in Christian theology is once again, so against Arianism, against Islam, is precisely due to the final point you will see on your worksheets, the concept of divine incarnation. It's precisely because the divine has become human. The divine has a human face. God has a human face. And so somehow, in the same idea as a photograph, when you look at that image, you're not looking at an image, rather you're looking through a window into the divine. All right. With that, we'll pick it up there next time. Stay safe and healthy.